Hi everyone! You have just spent several weeks putting together your Project 3 portfolio. You've been working on reading, articulating your argument, organizing your ideas, crafting really strong, persuasive, analytical paragraphs that help you support those ideas and bring together different sources in crafting that support. And you've created a visual artifact that represents that argument as well, and that we'll get to put on display at the showcase at the end of this week. So it's been, several weeks of thinking about this topic and how best to present that argument. Now we're shifting into our final project of this semester, something else that you've been working on actually all term, just as long as you've been reading about this topic. Presenting yourself as a writer and researcher, and specifically this semester you've been working on being a responsible writer and researcher. So this final week of the class, you're going to be working on using your work from across the semester as it's presented in your OneDrive portfolio to support your evaluative argument about yourself. What progress have you made in reading, writing, researching, reflecting, rhetorical knowledge, responsibility, and how do you want to present that argument? So right now you're watching the video. You'll see this week prompting. You may have probably already seen prompting to complete your student evaluation of teaching form from the university. I'll be sharing shortly a survey link for a CLC survey that I'm going to ask you to participate in middle of the week or early this week. If you've been starting Project 4, you can submit anything that you have done for feedback from your peers. It's optional. You don't have to do that, but if you'd like some peer feedback, then I'll ask you to submit that by about Tuesday. It doesn't have to be the whole paper, but just a start is fine. And then by next Monday, not Sunday, I'm going to give you an extra day. By next Monday, you are going to submit Project 4A and Project 4B, which is your written essay and your presentation. So I'm going to talk through those in just a minute. In terms of the survey links and evaluations, those are really important for me for thinking through my own teaching of the course. They're important for thinking about how composition learning community courses and sections function, and also just for how we teach English 1020 overall in the composition program. So any feedback you can give there would be greatly appreciated. Again, the draft of Project 4A for peer feedback is optional, but highly encouraged, even if you just get a paragraph or two in for your peers to give you feedback on. I know for some of you that early feedback is really crucial to shaping your ideas. I can't give you feedback on this draft. This is kind of functioning as our final exam. So I really want to see you doing the writing process work, the reflection and revision that you've been practicing all semester as best as you can with your resources in this final project. Okay, let's go take a look at the project itself. And I'm going to read through this a little bit and then highlight some aspects of the assignment description, because it is a really long assignment description that you'll want to refer to several times as you work on the project. So to close the course, you're working through reflection, self-evaluation, and presentation to make a case to me and to the larger composition program for how well you've achieved the goals of this course. You're going to look back over your work all the way from that very first week through to the stuff that you just turned in this Sunday on Project 3, thinking about how well you've achieved the goals of this class. This is an argument about you and your progress and your achievement. And so you want to provide compelling evidence of that achievement by using your process work, your notes, your drafts, your feedback to other people even, your final projects to show what you've learned and how well you've progressed in the course learning outcomes, and that you're ready to move on in your academic work. We are accompanying this reflective essay with a multimodal presentation that you're going to use to highlight to your classmates, then specifically, the major concept that you're taking from the course. So again, for the essay part of this project, the audience is me and other members of the composition program, other instructors and administrators who work on the curriculum for the course and who assess student learning to understand how we can improve instruction. And then the presentation is given to your classmates, the other 20 or so people in the class. And that part, which I'll talk about in a second, is much more focused on what you want other writing students to keep in mind as they progress throughout their time at Wayne State. Okay, back to the assignment. One final thing that you're doing in this project, it does receive its own grade for the class, but there's also a moment in the essay where I want you to explain the grade that you believe you should receive for the course overall, and for that you're going to refer to the grade contract. Okay, so this assignment prompt reiterates several times what you should be focusing on in the reflective essay, how to make some decisions about that essay, and then what should happen in the body paragraphs. So here we go. In this assignment, you will evaluate your growth as an English 1020 student using your choice of experiences and work on the projects to support your claims. Your choice of your experiences in the class and your work on the projects. And that could be anything, any of your work from the projects, from starting to get an idea going on a project, to something I assigned you to do, to some part of the process you did on your own, some of your reading, note-taking, drafting, and revision, and your final presentation of those projects. You have to make choices about what's going to best present that growth. In an essay of 4 to 6 pages, analyze the relationship between your work and the course learning outcomes listed on the syllabus. Okay, we have a lot of course learning outcomes: reading, writing, research, reflection, rhetorical knowledge, and responsibility. And so you've got to choose which ones of those learning outcomes you want to emphasize. Where do you think you've made the most growth? And where do you think that you could use some extra work going on into the future? You will want to choose the learning outcomes and knowledge that have developed most strongly and importantly for you. If you think there's little evidence of your growth in a particular aspect of these learning outcomes, no problem. Just articulate why in your final essay. You should address all aspects of these learning goals, but you can choose which ones you emphasize. Your main claim or thesis statement should identify specific characteristics that in your review represent your experiences and work in English 1020. And you'll talk about those things in your body paragraphs. So it probably makes sense for you to do a little bit of brainstorming around the course learning outcomes. So let's jump over and take a look at those. Okay. In the syllabus, you can see our course learning outcomes. These are learning outcomes common to every section of English 1020: reading, writing, researching, and reflecting. And then our specific section learning outcomes: rhetorical knowledge and practice and responsibility. So let's just look at the responsibility one for an example. It has some explanations of what responsibility means and how you might practice that responsibility and rhetorical knowledge. So you have to start to think of evidence of how you've done that thing. So for example, where in the class have you been practicing on developing your learning through your engagement with other classmates, with me, with other resources at Wayne State, and with just reading and writing about the topics that you're writing about? Where have you been practicing incorporating others' ideas and giving them credit for those ideas? You could even print a couple pages of the syllabus and start jotting down here in the margins different things you've done in class, because that will help you figure out what your evidence is. And then in your essay, you can explain and analyze that evidence. How does that evidence show that you've been practicing this particular thing? Let's jump up to researching. Okay, as another example. Here's one part of the researching learning outcome. You want to be able to show how you've used a flexible research process to find, evaluate, and use information from secondary sources. So what projects have you done that in? How have you been researching? And how has that research process been flexible, meaning you haven't just used the same process for every time you've had to do some research, but that you've learned how to research appropriately for the specific topic or project that you're researching for. So what are some ways that you've done that? And that there's your evidence. And then you have to explain how that evidence shows that you made progress in researching, and analyze and evaluate that evidence and show why it's effective evidence. What's valuable about it? So again, I would highly suggest using these couple of pages from the syllabus to jot down in the margins here or in another brainstorming piece of paper or document different ways you've done these things, different ways you've practiced them in class, which ones you think you have most effectively made progress on and you want to prioritize in your essay, and which ones you think you want to spend a little time on, but maybe not as much. So for each of the 6 outcomes or things we've been practicing here, we've been practicing responsibility in this class. I want you to write about each of those. Okay, back to the assignment. The body paragraphs of your essay are meant to develop the essay's main claim in more detail and should feature subclaims like topic sentences that are substantiated by evidence from your major assignments and experiences in this course. So this should feel a lot like Project 3. For each paragraph in Project 3, you should have had a topic sentence or subclaim that supports your main idea and then is further supported by evidence from, in Project 3, it was from your research, but here the evidence is from your own work in the class. So this section here should be helpful for thinking about how to organize that essay. And if you scroll down at the very bottom of the assignment, this is copy and pasted a little bit weird from the common syllabus for the class. So kind of ignore that it just keeps repeating 1, 2, and 3. But this should help you organize the body of the essay, and you should have headings. So it describes what headings you should use for different subsections throughout the paper. So please use that organization to help you. The final thing I want you to pay attention to is that in your concluding paragraph for the project, you summarize the description, you summarize what you are pointing out over the semester, and you should have a clear sentence about what letter grade you think your work demonstrates based on the rubrics we've used and the grading contract. So overall, this is an evaluative essay, evaluation argument of your own work in progress in the class. Your portfolio is your OneDrive portfolio. So again, you should be able to see that, and hopefully you've already worked on it for Project 3. For you, you'll see it here in your shared folder. Since I made the overall folder, it's mine. So you'll go in here, and this is my sample folder. You should have items in for projects 1, 2, 3, and 4. In Project 4, you don't have to have everything from the class. Please just include the things that you highlight in your essay, and drop your final essay and your presentation in there as well. Okay, back to the assignment. You also have a short presentation to do. This is similar to Project 2B. It's a little bit longer. You are creating a 3 to 4 minute multimodal presentation in which you highlight the most significant area of your learning this semester. Because your audience is primarily your classmates, think about what you want to share with them, want them to remember, Want them to know about rhetoric, writing, or learning as you prepare to move on into your next courses. I want you to provide images depicting your work, showing parts of your portfolio, however that works for you, to develop the ideas you're presenting to your classmates. So this is not your entire essay in a presentation, but I want you to, again, highlight the most significant area of your learning this semester. And that can be about rhetoric, it can be about writing, it can be about learning in general. That's really going to be unique to you and what you think you have like the most insight in about the class to present to your, or about the class, about communication, writing, learning, researching, whatever it is, study skills, whatever it is that you can impart to your classmates. This presentation is highlighting the most significant area of your learning in this class this semester. So that might relate to the course learning outcomes. It might be something that you don't see listed there, but that you want to point out. This is really up to you to highlight the most significant area of your learning. I don't have a number of slides that I expect in this. If you use a slideshow, you could do a video if you wanted. It should just be multimodal, meaning that it includes more than just text, more than just your voice. Could have text and your voice. It could have images. I do want to see some images depicting your work. However that works. You could use a screencast, you could use a slideshow with recording over it, but I should be able to see things and hear your voice. All right. So hopefully that should be pretty fun to put together. Your overall project is, for Project 4 then, this essay, your organized portfolio folder for Project 4, and the multimodal presentation. Remember that you have the outline here at the bottom to refer to when you're organizing your essay. And I think the only other thing that I want to point out, let's go to the syllabus page for this. Now, all the way down to the bottom. Okay, it's optional for you to do a peer review draft for Project 4. If you submit something, you'll get one assigned back to you. And the only other thing I want to tell you is that you do have one listening reflections due on the presentation. So you're going to leave some notes to 3 or 4 of your classmates on their Project 4 presentations, and I will post a video about that on Sunday, December 8th, so that you can plan some time during finals week to work on that. Okay, feel free to send me specific questions, and I'll just reiterate that I can't read drafts of this project, but you can use your resources, including your peers, to do some of that peer review, and I will send out some reminders this week. I look forward to seeing you at the showcase.